Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today is our first video of our battle and campaign scenario series, where I'm creating some interesting scenarios that can spice up your battles, solo friendly. If you're a solo gamer like me, maybe these will add a touch of unpredictability and fun. These are very basic mechanics that are generic, and you can use them they can accommodate any rule set. For example, they will tell you, roll a morale test. So whatever rule set you're using, you will roll the specific morale test. Now, this would be, I use die rolls, D6 here, but you can generate them if you want with cards, with specially made cards, with D10s, D12s, depending on what game you play. Maybe you want to add, more events or have more number of dice for one event. I mean, you can accommodate and you can revise and house rule as you like. I'm a person who I really enjoy doing these things. I have quite, a vivid imagination, but I would be very interested to get your ideas. If you can write in the comment section, maybe you can tell me to work on a battle scenario of two brothers fighting for a maiden, or you want me to have something to do with monks, or any kind of scenario, any kind of intrigue you may think. Let me know and I will create a scenario in this series. I'm planning to have it for quite some time. Hopefully you can find it interesting, and some of these mechanics you can use, some you can add your own or get ideas of how you can spice up your games. Now today I'm gonna present you the battle scenario I'm gonna fight tomorrow, the Ashes of Quain. It's a 100 Years War battle scenario, but it's very easy to accommodate any medieval area, early kind of Dark Ages, Vikings, Anglo-Saxons. Maybe actually is more suitable that period. Barons' Wars, you can obviously do it for Wars of the Roses, but I'm doing 100 Years War. I'm specifically talking about 100 Years War now because this is the battle I'm going to, this period I'm going to use it for. So let's go and read a little bit of the, scenario background. Ashes of Quain, 100 Years War scenario, 1370. Again, this has no meaning. It's, just for the fun of it. So English commander, Sir Robert Knowles, French commander, Bertrand de Guesclin. These are the two commanders I'm going to use because these are the two commanders I have here. And our scenario background: in the dying light of a late summer evening, the English chevaucheur under Sir Robert Knowles stumbles upon the smoke-wreathed remnants of Quain, a small village nestled deep in the Normandy heartlands. That's quite nice, huh? The English aim is simple but ruthless: to extract the last ounce of wealth, grain, silver tithes, and hostages from the partially abandoned chapel village before the French close in. But something feels wrong. The church bell still rings intermittently, though no priest answers. A local peasant whispers of a sealed crypt under the chapel, said to contain the tax of 3 kings. Robert scoffs at superstition, but silver is silver. He gives the order to occupy the town at dusk. Unknown to the English, Bertrand de Guesclin has learned of their movements, marching swiftly through hidden woodland paths. He aims to catch Knowles isolated in the village and trap him between fire and faith. So, a nice scenario background. If you have this at the beginning of your battle, it's eerie, it's fun. You have a scenario, you have an atmosphere, you're creating an atmosphere. So let's go to the next one and we'll talk about objectives. This is partial of the map. We're going to talk about the map afterwards. Now, the English will secure Quain, control the chapel and village square by turn 4. So depending on the battle you're fighting or whatever, you can do turn 5, turn 6. It's up to you. Extract the tithes. I think I'm pronouncing them correctly. Just correct me if I'm wrong. Search and loot 3 designated buildings, including the chapel crypt. Each takes 1 full turn and of uncontested occupation. So again, very generic rule. Withdraw safely. Exit 50% of the surviving forces from the south road after looting. The French of Bertrand de Guesclin intercept the English, prevent looting of the crypt, so of the chapel crypt, so that's quite interesting. Rescue the hostages, take control of the old well behind the chapel, and survive 2 full turns to release hostages held by the English. So, they threw them in the old well, maybe. It's just, a thought. You can put something else. You can put a small building there. But it's good. You have an objective. And interim, the main objective is to stop the English of looting the crypt, looting the chapel. But, getting the hostage will give you some points. And deliver vengeance, defeat or capture Robert Knowles. So in the next one, you see here's the map, battlefield layout suggestions. So in the center, you have the burned out village of St. Quain with 4 or 5 stone or wooden buildings. We all have some buildings. It can be 2 or 3, doesn't matter. Northeast corner, a small walled chapel with overgrown graveyard and a sealed crypt. This is the objective building. Again, you can have just a chapel. We all have chapels lately, I've seen. West edge, the French deployment behind tree line and hedgerows. You cannot see it. Here is the west end. I will show you the map in full after this. South Road, here is the South Road down, is the exit, is English escape route, and generally scattered civilian carts, livestock, overturned coffers, and battlefield clutter. So that's how it is. So let's have a clearer look of the map so you can see here more clearly the English deployment, the French deployment, the village square, the old well, chapel. So, just some ideas. So if we go to the next one, we go twist and mystery events. That's optional rules. You roll a d6 at the start of turn 3 and 5. You can be any turn for you. And if you roll 1 and 2, a dense fog descends over the village. Visibility reduced to 12 inches. 12 inches, I did it for myself. Depending on what rules you were using, could be 6. You can make it even denser. 6. You can make no visibility, so no missile fire. So it's quite interesting. 3 and 4. A panicked monk emerges from the chapel, screaming about unholy relics and the punishment of greed. Morale check required for any unit within 6 inches. That's fantastic. The monk gets out. The English get startled. He starts shouting punishment, the punishment of greed. You have to take a morale test, a generic morale test based on the rule you're using. 5 and 6, the crypt opens with a low groan. Whoever controls it may loot it, but at the cost of -1 morale for the rest of the game due to the strange whispers and omens. So, they loot it, they're there, but they got frightened and they're fighting with -1 morale in the die roll. So you can use either of them, all of them, or whatever. So let's go to the next one. And the fourth suggestion, very basic again. Robert Knowles, he's a commander and he's mounted and he's aggressive. Some rules have these characteristics, so I'm putting my ideas. So 2 units of dismounted man-at-arms, 3 units of longbowmen, 1 unit of mounted archers or hobilars, and 1 small baggage guard, could be sergeants or armed servants, you can use it. And the French force could be Bertrand de Gauquelin, again a commander, he's cunning and charismatic. 2 units of men-at-arms, 1 mounted for sure, 2 units of crossbowmen or brigands, 1 unit of Breton or Gascon light cavalry, and optional is 1 unit of militia or townfolk to represent desperate defense. Could be, the townfolk, it's a French town, who are now together to fight the English supporting Bertrand de Gauquelin. So if we go to the last one, victory conditions, and then we'll go to some interesting rules about the chapel. The English victory, loot the chapel crypt, +2 other buildings, and exit with 50% of the forces. French major victory, prevent the crypt from being looted, and either rescue hostages or capture Robert Knowles. And a draw will be mixed objectives completed by both sides, or both armies withdraw blooded. So yeah, you can decide how you're going to do it. Now, here's the interesting part where you're going to play around. So, at the moment, it's very basic. Okay, you have your map, and it's very basic in general. You have your objectives, the ones you want to use, and then you have random events, just a die roll if you want to have fog, maybe you want to have rain, and these events that, create morale checks. Very basic, very basic. It's all about the atmosphere created. So breaking the chapel door. So how we're going to check the crypt? How we're going to enter the crypt? So breaking the chapel door dice mechanics. The chapel of St. Quain is sealed shut, either barred from within or locked by those guarding the treasure. The English must break through before discovering what's inside. So who can attempt? Only infantry, obviously not cavalry, in base contact with the chapel may attempt to break the door as an action instead of attacking or moving. So you have an action. Now, breaking the door die roll, each turn, so depending on what rules you're using, each turn, a unit attempts to break the door. You roll a d6 and apply the results below. You will see now the results. If multiple units assist at the same turn, roll once with a +1 each additional unit. So if you have more units, get a +1 in your roll. So very simple. And let's go and see. So roll results, you roll a 1, total failure. The unit loses 1 action next turn. Twisted wrist or shaken morale, they're injured. 2-3, the door creaks but holds. So you add a +1 to the next turn's roll. That is cumulative. So 4 and 5, the door is damaged. On the next roll of 4+, it will burst open. And 6, the door is smashed open this turn. Roll for the priest's identity table on turn 3 or immediately if turn 3 has passed. So it's not complicated. Let's go and we'll explain to you. So you have some modifiers. +1 for the unit of man-at-arms has tools. So, you can use baggage troops, looters, these people who are the baggage train that use them as looters, use them as the ones who are going to break the door, and you give them +1 because they have tools. Carpenters or whatever. +1 for 2 or more units working together. We said this. And -1 if the unit is under missile fire while attempting. Now, this optional rule for pressure, but they're trying to break, but Triangle Clan has his crossbowman, and he says to the crossbowman, shoot at the guys who are trying to break the door. So you have -1. Now, optional rule, quiet and loud, and that's very interesting. So, very simple, we're trying to burst in to enter our objective. We have this result of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So, and we have the modifiers. Obviously, you can use any of this, and we enter the chapel. Now, why it's optional, why it's important to see if it's quiet or loud. So, if the door is opened with a natural 6, the chapel is breached quietly. The monks or agents inside are not alerted and may lose their first action on reveal. If the door is opened after any other result, the interior occupants are ready for confrontation. So what's going to happen, because now we're going to check the identity of the monks. What's going to happen if the English open quietly, if the monks are strange, crazy individuals, they won't be able to attack first. The English will charge first. But if they open with a noise, the monks will have the first action. They will attack first. And usually, depending on what rule you're fighting, I'm going to fight Midgard, the guys who are charging get, to reroll once or get modifiers and other rules. So let's go here and see the priest's identity. So you roll, you break the door. Simple, guys, this is very simple, just some rolls. It's all the atmosphere, it's all the, the story behind it. So you roll, you break the door, you enter inside, so you have to roll. At the start of turn 2, the English player must send a unit to enter the chapel and speak with the priest. Once a unit ends its movement inside the chapel, roll a d6 to determine who the priests truly are. This is another thing you can do as a rule, but I would suggest when you break the door. So if you roll a 1, in the priest identity table, they are the cult of the Crimson Flame. They're fanatics. The priests are religious zealots guarding the treasure for only their faith. They immediately attack any unit in the chapel, regardless of their allegiance. Obviously, if you don't have interior and don't have, this will happen outside. Treat them as one unit of frenzied militia. 8 models, it depends on the rules, with a +1 morale but no armor. So you can have them as light infantry, you can have them as, simple, man-at-arms. If defeated and dying, priest whispers the saints demanded a sacrifice. So let's see what's going to happen in 2, when we roll a 2. They are English spies in disguise. The priests are actually English knights tasked with protecting the treasure from both sides until reinforcements arrive. The English player will now immediately recruit them as one unit of dismounted men-at-arms. French within 12 inches from the test for morale upon seeing the reveal. They may help extract the treasure or defend the crypt. So immediately you get an extra unit. And the French who see and are shocked that these are English in the end and nothing strange or nothing paranormal is there, they need a morale test. All this is based on very simple rolls, but very interesting background stories. So if you roll a 3, they're French agents masquerading as monks. Another very interesting part. These are part of the Bernardica clan's infiltrators posing as priests to frighten off the looters. They activate on the next French turn and act as unit of crossbowmen already inside the chapel. The English unit inside must test morale immediately and retreat 6 inches if they fail. French player may use them to delay the English and stall looting. So suddenly, the English have a unit of crossbowmen behind them on a hill. The chapel will be on a hill if you want to, and they have to change the strategy. Very interesting, I think. 4, real priests and terrified, so the priests are actual men of God. They beg both sides to leave the chapel unspoiled. They offer a blessing. 1 unit closest within 6 inches may roll 1 failed morale check during the battle. They flee after this turn and play no further role. Now for 5, haunted or just cowards. The chapel is empty, but signs of flight are everywhere. Candles lit, food half-eaten. Any unit entering the chapel must take a morale test due to the airy atmosphere. A random event from the Seer or Men table triggers immediately. The crypt remains sealed but unguarded. So basically this is nothing happens. It's a little bit of an eerie situation. You get a morale test due to the atmosphere. That's it, basically. Possessed by greed, rogue priests. The priests were tempted by the treasure and have turned violent. They behave as armed zealots, light infantry with clubs and relics. Both sides may attempt to bribe them. Roll a 4+ on a d6. If successful, they join the briber as a unit of 6. Well, this is for skirmish, you can use anything. If both try to bribe the same turn, they turn on both. So, again, unpredictability. You may have someone attacking you without expecting it. Now, optional rules, you have Divine Wrath. If the chapel is looted after fighting the priests, roll d6. On a 6, a Saint's Curse is triggered. All units in the chapel take a morale penalty for the rest of the battle. On any other result, nothing happens. So you see, it's simple. Let's go and understand a little bit the very simple mechanics. So you're fighting, and you're trying to break the door, and you break the door by rolling, a 4 and a 5 in the next roll of a 4. You burst the door in the next roll, but you burst the door, and that means the priests inside are aware of you and they're prepared. Then you go and you roll again to see what priests they are, and suddenly you roll a 3. And you find that French agents who, because they know you, they have the advantage. So what they will do, they have the action. They will immediately shoot the English. The English will fall back, obviously 6 inches. They must test for morale, actually, because they're shocked by the French. They will fall back. If they don't fall back, the French crossbowmen have the first action, and they will shoot the English. And that will mean that the English will be attacked on their rear. And a total different battle starts. So you can see here, guys, that's how very, very simple mechanics, but with a nice background story, create a nice atmosphere. The unpredictability of basically who is inside the chapel, and this, treasure, this tithes that Robert Knowles and Britannica Clan want to cut, they are protected by someone. Are they fanatics? Are they French? Are they English? All this is just a simple die roll with a nice background story that will make the battle more interesting. You can use any of them, you can use all of them, you can decide to use fewer of them. For example, for the priests, you may decide that you don't want to have so many options, and you can have priests, they are a cult of the Crimson Flame, English spies in disguise, and French agents. So you can have 1-2 for the first, 3-4 for the second, and 5-6 for the third. So again, you can play around with what you like. I think I'm going to fight this battle tomorrow. Hopefully I can shoot it on the weekend. I think, like this scenarios, and this obviously you can see how a generic scenario it is and how easily can be done with Dark Ages, or Dark Ages, I'm saying Vikings, Saxons, or Normans. You can do it easily with Baron's War. You can do it easily even with Crusades. There can be Templars inside hiding, for example. We can do this. That's not a bad idea. You can do it with 100 Years War. Why not do it with the Wars of the Roses or any other Crusades in the East? So I think by this, you spice up your game by very, very simple mechanics, by some events, by how you will break the door and how long will it take while you're defending the chapel, and by who is in the chapel. Is it with you or against you? Simple die rolls. I told you at the beginning, choose any mechanics you want, even cards. And I think this game is fun. I think it became much more fun immediately. Anyway, guys, this is from me. This is the first part of a series. I'm going to have a quite long series with this because I really enjoy creating this. I need your ideas. Tell me what scenario you want me to make. As I said before, you want two brothers fighting, you want two sisters fighting, you want cousins, you want anything you need. Let me know. It's good for me because, it will give me ideas. It will give me scenarios in the head. It will help me, try to be more imaginative. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for 7,000 subscribers. Thank you for supporting the channel. And have a great Friday tomorrow, Thursday today, and a lovely upcoming weekend. Talk to you soon, and bye-bye.